Hi, I'm Stephanie Farrell, and welcome to Site Speak. Today we are joined by the lovely Foam Guys. Welcome.
Thank you for having us.
Of course, thanks for being here. So can you guys introduce yourselves really quickly for me?
I'm Hugh Thiago. I'm Mark Smith. I'm Frank Hogan.
And you guys are?
The Foam Guys.
The Foam Guys. So can you tell me a little bit about what the Foam Guys do?
Interior wish.
Well, so our general contractors, we're licensed in the state of Florida as general contractors. We have several licenses, so we can do a myriad of things. But our specialty is foam, guys. Mark and
So it is a two-part high-density polyurethane foam. It's excellent for foundation stabilization, void filling, all kinds of subterranean structural renovation. We've used it a lot for buildings, for foundations, for seawalls. We do a lot of work nationwide in solar work for stabilizing steel piles. We're determining basically there's an unlimited potential for the polyurethane foam. We're trying very hard to replace concrete as the primary medium for foundation stabilization. Now, the foam is very dynamic. We can customize technology and pinpoint like our repair strategy to not just fix one area, but we can fix areas that are 20 and 30 feet underground. So it's very dynamic, and we're just at the forefront, and it's a cutting-edge technology.
And in layman's term, when you say foundation stabilization, what does that mean?
So when you're walking through your house and you feel the ground shifting to one side, we can come and stabilize that and square up your floor again. And basically secure people's biggest investment, which is their home. And that's the thing people worry about the most, you know. And it's a very sensitive subject to a lot of homeowners, you know. They've worked very hard to develop wealth, and the home is usually the primary focus of that. And, you know, any kind of gutter issues, little things here and there lead to big problems down the road. And we can solve about 99% of them.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to use you guys in my home because we have a leak due to a faulty gutter. And it came in and it ruined all our wood. And me and my husband are so upset. And we've actually called multiple people before we met you guys. And they've come and they've ghosted us because they're just like, no, we can't fix it.
That's the biggest problem. One of the, like Frank said, we carry many different licenses. We've been doing this together for the better part of 25 years. I mean,
Wow.
We've had different variations of the company. And we started as a concrete cutting and demolition company. We moved into a commercial concrete contractor. We moved on to a concrete, like a concrete foundation company, to a general contractor, to renovation contractors. And most recently, about 6 years ago, we came into this polyurethane foam injection, and it more or less caught us by surprise. I had started the original company in Colorado. We were in the process of moving it down to South Florida to do seawall repairs. And a childhood best friend from about 30 years ago when I lived in Bradenton, Florida, a random phone call, catch up. He has a solar project in the middle of Wisconsin. And he said, do you think you can handle this? I said, we'll give it a shot. And we did. We knocked it out in about 2 weeks' time. That was the first phase of it. Then we wound up spending almost 2.5 years there on the next subsequent phases. And, you know, it was kind of trial by fire. We had to develop the technology, develop the processes, train guys, and we did it hands-on out there in the fields ourselves. And so it's been a wonderful path since then. You know, we'd all known each other, and it has brought stability to the company, and it's enabled us to open up different branches and different aspects of the company. And so now we are a licensed GC, we're a licensed HVAC contractor, we are a licensed roofing contractor. Sorry.
You do it all.
We're in the process of attaining our plumbing license and then probably eventually our electrical license. So we will be a 100% full service provider.
So you definitely have had an interesting 25 or so years to get here. And kind of going a little bit backwards, how do you all know each other?
So Frank's daughter, Jennifer, threw a party in 1996. And
he's the boy next door.
Some hooligan from next door came over and decided to crash the party. And
that's all she wrote?
It's been the fun road.
He's literally the boy next door.
Yep.
Ulysses and I, I call him my sobrino. Which means nephew. We're from the same part of. We grew up in Queens, New York City, and we back in the '80s and '90s. His father and I have close friends, and he's not really my nephew, but his father and I have been friends for a very, very long time. And Ulysses and I have worked down in Florida 25 years together.
Mm-hmm.
He's your chosen nephew. So what brought you to Miami from Queens?
Weather.
No.
That's it?
That's it.
That's fair enough. That's a good enough
He
reason, I
doesn't
think.
even drink cold water.
Wait, really? Okay, that's blasphemy. You drink lukewarm water?
No, I joke about not liking to open the refrigerator because I don't like the cold.
Oh my gosh.
That's
Okay,
it.
we're opposites on that. I'll just open the refrigerator on a hot day and just take it in.
So when Mark needs a break from Frank, Mark goes back to Colorado. I know he's not coming here to visit me. He's not going to pop up here.
That's your secret getaway?
Yes, it is. I have a wonderful mother-in-law, but a little bit of distance makes it that much better.
Always, always. And how long have you been with Frank's daughter now?
We've been dating since 1996. We've
That's
been married
beautiful.
since 2001. 2002, sorry. And it's been a fun road. Just like with marriage, nothing's ever easy. And with family, nothing's ever easy.
But always
in
worth
business,
it.
nothing's ever easy. And it's been a good road. I wouldn't change a thing.
That's awesome. And so did you two start working by virtue of knowing his father? Did you start working together in Queens, or was it not till Miami?
Oh, not really to Miami. Till I moved here. Frank was already here.
Okay.
And then Frank would, oversee all the work that I was doing. So
And what were you doing?
construction, I was doing remodeling.
Okay.
They owned the bigger company and they would sub work out to me and stuff like that.
So you were talking about it earlier. Kind of tell me the foundation of that beginning company.
So originally, I worked with Frank in a law enforcement role previously. And once I left the law enforcement role, he was towards the end of his career in law enforcement. And then his brother, John, has a company up in New York, a concrete cutting and demolition company. And so they were in some financial trouble. I have a master's in business. And so he'd asked me to go up and check it out, see if it's something that would work, or see if I could help out in any way, shape, or form. This is May of 2001. I went up there. I'd never really been involved in construction a whole lot. It was very handy, and I kind of just fell in love with construction. And so May of 2001 led into September of 2001. So I watched the whole 9/11 event firsthand. That was my first major project as a project manager. We wound up drilling 1,500 12-inch diameter holes through a 48-inch thick slurry wall on a 45-degree angle to help hold back the entire ground zero site from collapsing from the Hudson River.
God.
So it was kind of when that's your first project as a project manager, there's no other project that scares you. So, which has been good. I mean, we've taken on some of the biggest projects we have, and we don't bat an eye. I mean, it's like, when a national emergency is your first project, and
I was
you
going to say,
get
that
through
has
it.
to be incredibly rewarding. Wow.
It was challenging. There was a lot to it. Being a young person, and the emotions. I was working with guys that had been in construction for 30, 40 years, hardened veterans, and to see them like breaking down physically and emotionally at just the gravity of the situation and having to deal with that, dealing with unions, dealing with all the different parameters. It was a challenge, the biggest challenge of my life.
And leaving that biggest challenge of your life, and that kind of made you realize that you did want to work in the industry. How come? Was it just because the reward was so great at the end, despite all the challenges, or what about it made you realize you wanted to stay in that industry?
My parents always joke with my brother and I. My brother worked for the utility company, and at the time we were a concrete contractor. So Mark's always looking down and looking at the infrastructure that they built, and Jay's always looking up at the power lines and describing how the power is delivered, this and that. But what it breaks down to is when you build something, it's there mostly permanent, usually for quite a few years, and you can actually point to something and be like, I built that, or I had a hand in building that. And just it's so rewarding to say that, and not many people can. I mean, it's unfortunately the construction trades are and the trades in general are becoming a lost art. And the fact that we can look at a building and I know how it was built, I know what went into it, I know why it was built, and then I know what it takes to demolish it and take it down and redo it all over again. So
That's awesome. And how? So I know you went from concrete to foam. So can you tell me a little bit more about naturally how that transitioned?
Well, the idea of the foam was to lift foundations and to lift sidewalks. You really can't make a living at that. I mean, when you come to somebody's house and you fix their sidewalk, how much can you charge to fix a sidewalk? Not a lot. And you really can't support a family on that. So what we thought of was we live in Florida, and there was so much problems at the time. It was a lot to do with the tides and the rising waters and whatever climate controls or climate changes that are happening politically, the reality is water's coming higher. So we said, if we have this process, we realized the polyurethane foam is hydrophobic, which means it pushes water away from you. So, and it synergistically goes into the failing concrete. So it takes the foam, goes into the failing concrete, and makes a really renewed product. We say hydrofoam, but it's a renewed product. We degraded concrete, and our foam comes back to a structural soundness that works and saves the seawalls from falling into the ocean. And we can use the good seawalls and raise the height of the water, the cap of the seawall. So it's a process, and it takes a lot of thought behind it to realize you have A plus B plus C equals saving the coastline.
Yeah, that's important work. Can you kind of break that down a little bit more of what the process looks like and actually doing the foam?
Well, Ulysses,
Mark will take that.
no, this is your
No,
turn to talk.
Ulysses, I
it.
think
We
it's
did
your
it.
turn to
It's
take
your
this
turn.
one.
So it's basically we're taking an old wall, like Frank said, that has voids, what we like to call undermining, or through the actual wall itself. The undermining will be more at the bottom of the wall, at a joining panel where you have your soils leaking out, and basically we seal that from the backside. We inject our foam instead of you coming in and having to build a brand new wall at an extreme cost. We're basically rejuvenating it and giving you about 10 years worth of life at a fraction of the cost.
And is it your own proprietary foam, or what kind of technology do you guys use?
we have a patented process. Our process is patented. The foam is not. Foam
Okay.
is a common thing, but our process of doing it is actually patent pending, because we've submitted it, and it just takes a long time.
Yeah, it always takes forever. Lawyers.
The process is
Lawyers.
Lawyers are the worst.
No, it's and the nicest part is the people that live on the water, they've worked hard to get there, and they don't want a cheap solution. And there is no, what's the quote?
What?
There's a honest
Project too
cheap-
small?
No, go ahead.
Okay. Honesty is not cheap, so don't expect cheap people to be honest.
I like that one. I'm going to have to
Warren
steal
Buffett.
that from you.
That was Warren Buffett. I stole it from Warren Buffett.
No, for me, it's from you for always. So,
So-
Warren Buffett, who?
So that's part of it, is we take the time to spend with homeowners to educate them on what's actually going to happen. The hardest part is they're not physically going to see it. They'll most of the foam's injected underground behind the walls and stuff like that. We can come through and do a GPRS scan of it, and we can show them the scan results and explain it to them. But it's like reading an MRI. If you're not a doctor, you don't know how to read an MRI.
And can you tell me what GPR stands for?
Ground penetrating radar. And so it's essentially like a really expensive lawnmower that we run over top of it. It'll tell us the consistency of the soil, the consistency of the water voids, and it'll explain a lot of the situation that you can't see because all you can see is the grass. And it's a great measuring tool to be able to provide a little bit of justification for the homeowners, and we can show them, hey, this is what the situation really is going on. You just don't have to take our word for it. We can provide you a little bit of documentation for that. And it definitely has helped a lot. We have engineers that we work with. A lot of times we'll have the engineer even work directly for the homeowner as a protection method for the homeowner. You know, yes, we work with them a lot, but ultimately their client and their licensure is on the line they've got to be honest with the homeowner.
So who's part of your team? You have an engineer. Who else? How big is your team?
We work with about 3 different engineering companies, depending on the different areas we operate in. And we've been working with them and training them on the foam injection. That's been the hardest challenge. It is a new technology, and trying to get people to embrace new technology is hard, you know. But at some point, it's got to start with new technology, and you got to push through the naysayers and the doubters. And once you get that and you get established, we're starting to work with like the DOT and a lot of other aspects nowadays to use the foam injection for stabilization of many different structures, and you know, not have to do these big monster excavations. And you know, excavating takes a lot of time. There's a lot of buried utilities. There's a lot of expense to it. There's times we can fix like a single lane road structure in a single overnight experience, whereas for them to shut it down, cut out the concrete, excavate it, you'd probably talk in 2 to 3 weeks. And so it's time, and time is money, no matter what anybody says. You know, it's the amount of labor that has to go into it, the amount of material, and then the amount of delays and the basically the disruption of daily life is hard. You know, and our traffic patterns here in South Florida are so wonderful.
Oh my God, they're the best. I love driving every day for an hour and a half. It's the highlight of my day.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But oh wait, you see, I messed up too. I just had a brain fart, and I forgot what I was going to ask you. Give me 1 second.
Well, one of the things that Mark alluded to was we are general contractors, and we started out as concrete cutters, and then we replaced concrete, and now we're saying to you, don't use concrete anymore. And the direction we come from is not that concrete doesn't have its uses, but the ability to use the foam in a proper way, in a manner that adds to synergistically to the whole system. Like concrete is important in some places, but if you pour concrete on a sunken backyard, concrete is very heavy and continues to push the dirt out into the ocean. Well, that's not what we want. We want to lift the dirt up, and when we put the foam below the ground, we lift the earth up, and we cause like a plug or a cork in the leak. So as we do these things, we realize that there's so much more we can do, which spun us into what Mark talked about, was working in the solar fields. The solar fields are out in the middle of nowhere someplace. You drive along and you say, oh my God, look at this whole line of black mirrors and the solar panels. And many of us believe that it's better to use solar energy than coal or pollutant type energy. So the solar fields are very popular as a renewable source. But the problem that we've run into is in the solar fields, the areas that they're built in are lousy earth. They're like deserts, non-productive areas. They can't plant anymore. Old farm fields that are spent. The nutrients are out of it. So now they put these solar panels in this area, and the dirt that had all these nutrients in it is sagging. And we are able to take the polyurethane foam, inject it in, it mixes in with the soil. It's a non-polluting thing. We have an EPA approval for our foam, so we don't pollute the area, and we have the structure supported from underground without destroying the environment.
So sorry if this is a silly question with the solar panels. So it's not necessarily because of any sort of water intrusion or anything. So you can also use the foam just generally for any sort of stabilization.
Right.
Okay. I'm getting really excited for my house. I'm sorry. I just keep thinking about this shit that I have.
And the biggest one of the challenges with these solar fields, I mean, they're giant. They're 10,000 plus acres. And over 10,000 acres, you're going to find some anomalies. It's not all going to be just simple beach sand or something like that. So we're able to combat these anomalies, and we can do it in an expeditious manner to where they can continue to build. And that's the idea, is they're there to build solar. And when they run into an issue, those are the issues that we can help solve for them. It's hard to get concrete out there because it's not an attractive project for a concrete company. It's only a little bit of concrete. Typically, they're not close by, but we can literally carry the equivalent of 20 cubic yards of concrete on each one of our rigs. But we carry it in a liquid polyurethane form, and so it's much lighter. It's not a huge, giant truck. We have about 300-foot range from our rigs to any different aspect injection location. So it's very conducive for a good product to keep production going. So
Everything you've told me logistically, it sounds so much better than concrete. And I know you're saying one of the biggest challenges has been the naysayers. Do you think it's just by virtue of change and people are always resistant to change, or what really is it that is preventing people from wanting to embrace foam entirely?
I mean, concrete has always going to have a place in construction. It's very strong, very durable, and it's a necessary thing. The nicest part about the polyurethane foam is it's a polymer, so it won't fracture, it won't break, and it binds all the different soils, materials, everything together to kind of create an amalgamation of structure that helps support everything else. So it's not like we're trying to knock concrete out of the box. That's never going to happen. We're just trying to come up with the best solution to help support it, help augment it, and not have to go into such an extreme cost of having to replace the concrete. And so there's a lot of things we can do to help support it, structurally fix it, and there's because a lot of everything is built right now. It's not simple just to demolish something and build it back new. So a lot of times there's retrofits and there's a cost thing to it. I mean, there's a big condo issue going on nowadays with these 30 and 40-year recertifications. You know, they've got foundations that have been sinking over time. I mean, there was a report that came out that said, 30% of Miami Beach has sunk three or four
horrifying,
inches.
Especially after Champlain.
Correct. And we've seen so much more changes in the building codes nowadays based on from the Champlain Towers. You know,
Long time coming.
No, it is. And now with our roofing company, we're actually starting to do a lot more waterproofing because now they're tying roofing and waterproofing together, so that way you have a complete building envelope. And then a lot of the companies like Sika and Tremco are providing these better warranties, but they're a lot more stringent, a lot more, the process of building is now being scrutinized more and more because people want warranties. And, we provide with our foam injection the best warranty in the industry.
Especially as we continue to sink.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Exactly. And unfortunately, it's an inevitable thing, there's only so much land, and we're putting more and more structure on it. And the infrastructure, the seawalls, South Florida alone has 30,000 miles of seawall. And most of them are in some form of disrepair. So there's going to be more and more work. And, a new seawall is very, very expensive. And there's a reason these seawall companies are booked out almost a year and a half. It's very permanent intensive. A lot of people have to take looks, have to approve it. And then by the time you get the company there, it's a heavy, heavy construction. I was on a project yesterday down in Isla Mirada where they put in a brand new seawall. And the seawall construction looks phenomenal. No issues whatsoever. But the results of putting in that seawall has destabilized the structure in the yard. And so now they have big voids and holes all throughout their yard. And subsequently, we have to come in and stabilize about 2,500 square feet of yard because it's just the nature of the conditions of where it's built. And bringing in a heavy construction process like putting in a new seawall. And it's just, trying to combat Mother Nature. It's a never-ending battle.
Mother Nature always wins.
Always. As she should, though, right?
Right.
I know you're speaking about that project and also the challenging Ground Zero, but any other Miami specific or South Florida specific projects you can think of that were especially challenging and maybe where foam really did come out and show how much better it was than concrete in that scenario?
So one of the things we've started seeing more and more is parking structures and parking garages. You know, a lot of times they'll put 1 or 2 levels below grade. You know, we have a pretty high water table here, and every season we have the rainy seasons and everything, and you can't 100%. I'm not gonna say you can't 100% waterproof something. With concrete structures, you know, you have to have joints, you have to have connections, and those lead to like intrusion, water intrusion. We've seen over the last couple of years these parking garages with millions of dollars of cars in them flood, and it's projects like that we can help out with. You know, we're not going to 100% stop the water, but we can control how the water comes in. We can direct it to drains. You know, it's a managed process, and unfortunately, we get called out right after the flood happens, and then the client, we present the project, this and that, and then it's dry, and then it's like, okay, we're going to wait till the next one, and unfortunately, it's a never-ending cycle, and we see it all the time, and then like even on projects that we do, you have to have a maintenance plan in place, you know, and people don't like maintenance, but if you don't perform maintenance, all you're leading to is failure.
So you see that a lot, that your customers or your clients are actually resistant to kind of get ahead of it?
It's very tough, very challenging. We're starting to see a lot more traction with HOAs. With all the changes with the ombudsman program, with the financial regulations that are being put in place to where they have certain reserve funds and stuff, there's more maintenance being performed or starting than has ever been done before. Usually it was like, we don't have an issue until we see a failure. And then by then, it's too late. But now that they're starting to see things more and more, and so we are seeing the tides changing, which is good. It needs to happen. But unfortunately, it takes a disaster like the Champlain Towers to make people see that, you know? And now you're having, unfortunately, a lot of people are even losing their homes because they can't afford the maintenance or the repairs because they've had such a lack of maintenance. And then the developers come in and buy up the entire property. I mean,
well, the governor's office is trying to correct that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what
Also,
well, because of the change of because of the disasters of the tower collapsing on the beach, all of a sudden they went to say, oh, everybody has to get your house in order. So they said, fix it by 2025, I think. Well, these people that live on a limited income really don't have the money. So they were starting to lose their houses. It's been in the news. Unfortunately, it's been in the news. But now the legislature is trying to address that to give a longer timeline to the people or to help with the financing of it. It's an ungodly amount of money when all of a sudden you go from a maintenance of $300 a month to $1,000 a month. You may be able to afford it, but a lot of people live paycheck to paycheck. And all of a sudden it comes along and you say, oh, we have to fix this concrete restoration. Well, concrete restoration is expensive. Putting a new roof on is expensive. When they used to get away with patching the sidewalk, now they have to replace the sidewalk. So the legislature, thankfully, is trying to address it with giving the ombudsman program that Mark mentioned, and giving the people time to get their repairs done, which segues into our foam. When we use the foam in the areas that have a seawall, we save them.
It's going to be my next question. It's a lot cheaper, right?
We are at least 60 to 80% cheaper, depending upon the area.
Hear that?
What's
I
that?
was talking to the camera, letting them know.
Well, we're at least 60 to 80% cheaper repairing the seawall than replacing it.
So
all the time.
It just doesn't seem like anybody should ever use concrete to me.
No.
Well, a renovated seawall, or seawalls we do, will never replace a new seawall. But what we're doing is we're buying them the time and the warranty to forecast and properly plan for. We just finished a big project in Deerfield Beach. about 1,800 linear feet of seawall. Basically, in our presentation to them, we are going to buy you a 10 to 15 year warranty period that'll give you the time to start a special assessment now and plan for a much larger project. I mean, almost 2,000 linear feet of seawall is probably a $3.5 million project. It's not something not many people can stroke a check for. And so, but this will give them the 10 to 15 years to plan for that, invest for that, and the whole group can buy in. And it's not, instead of doing a special assessment where you're going from $300 a month to $1,000 a month, now they can plan it. Maybe it's $45 a month. But yeah, it'll be a long-term plan. And that's one of the biggest benefits of the foam injection seawalls is we can provide you that warranty, that peace of mind, that comfort to get you from A to B and ultimately C, which C would be a new seawall. And the seawall technology has come way up, but it comes at a cost. It's very expensive.
So we're buying you the time. We say to you, in 15 years, your kid's going to go to college. Save today. Well, we're saying to you, in 15 years, your house is going to need a new seawall. Save today. And that's
It's not a permanent solution, but it's a maintenance program. It's a warranty.
It's a 15-year delay of cost that you probably can afford now, but when in 15 years you might be able to use this again.
That's what I was going to be my next question. Could you just re-up it in 15 years, or
Maybe,
you have to?
Maybe, but we wouldn't say you want to. We would say that you really got to look to do a seawall.
And how extensive are your projects? I mean, I'm sure it varies obviously by project, but is it very invasive, very time consuming? Is it quicker?
So we have some projects that literally last 2 to 3 hours. Spot treatments, a little bit here and there. And then we have other projects. We're working on one now. We've already done 2 phases, but this third phase is going to be, proof of concept was the first 2. This next one could be anywhere from a 5 to 10 year project. It's down in the lower Keys. We're basically rebuilding 5 miles of seawall. And we've come up with a new design, new features. I mean, these are issues that they've had for many years, huge voids. I mean, a human can swim into these voids. And we've had our divers down there checking it out. And
That's so cool.
yeah, I mean, we've had to push sea life out of the way just to do our inspections. So
How do you do that?
gently.
But we're environmentally safe. We don't poison the water. We don't poison the coral. We support it. The coral grows on our stuff. So
The coral can grow on the foam?
yes.
Oh, that's really neat.
So it doesn't kill the environment. We're safe.
And what other environmental challenges do you face in that sense?
We're environmentally friendly. We have I don't have it in front of me, but we have a certificate saying we're safe for the environment.
So it's an EPA leaching report that basically says when our foam, once it is combined, because it's a part A and a part B polyurethane epoxy essentially, the combined component has a 0 leaching thing. So basically it's going to put out no hydrocarbons, no kind of harmful chemicals into any kind of water system and groundwater, anything like that. So it's 100% inert. It lasts for underground for approximately 93 years. So
Wow.
whereas concrete itself has a life expectancy of about 50 years. So, I mean, it works in amazing capacities. And so we're still just scratching the surface on the full capabilities of the foam. I mean, we come up with a different solution almost weekly, and it's like, I wonder if it'll work. And sure as hell, we're going to try.
What's been one of the coolest solutions you've been able to put together for a project that you're like, you know what, I got to give myself a pat on the back for this one. This was pretty neat. Hughes, I feel like you
think
have
the
something there.
I think the solar fields.
I think we're always just pushing the limits of the product, and we're always trying to find something new that we can do with the product and stuff like that. That's actually one of your words. But yeah, we're always challenging ourselves.
So always about
in the field.
innovation.
Yes.
What other challenges have you found in starting your business and the evolution over the past 25 years, aside from the hesitance or the resistance to foam? I know there's a lot of struggles when you open your own business. There's a lot of pressures, or also you guys working with family and close friends. How has that been?
Well, you know what they say, when you want to make $100,000 in business, start with $1 million.
Easy peasy.
Well, I think just the opposite. I'm in the stage of my life because I'm an old man that I do this because I want to do it. I enjoy the rub of my relatives, both these men. I enjoy being with them, and they're smart men. They have they think differently than I do, and but all together we come up with a very, very, very good team. We don't really argue a lot. We disagree, but we don't
No
argue.
hierarchy. You guys are a team. You make decisions together.
Right.
Yeah, it's we definitely have a very unique dynamic. We've all three of us have come from different walks of life. We have different backgrounds, but all together we come together for the common goal. And you know what? No, it's not always right the first time, and there's been times we've had to try different approaches here and there. But at the end, there's not any single piece of quit in any of the three of us. And it's led to some interesting discussions, but ultimately it's always been customer first, well, family first, and then customer oriented approaches. We'll go to almost no end to come up with a solution, which is great. And integrity is a huge part of us. We've never once, in 25 years of all this different construction, never once quit on a job. And that's
amazing.
Correct. And in this day and age
And we've lost money on jobs. Many jobs.
I'm sure all the people that have quit on me, I know why.
I think we call it paying to learn.
Yeah.
That's
Paying
one.
tax.
Yeah, we get taxed a lot.
No, like age. The age has gone by. In 2008 and 9, there was terrible recession where people just didn't pay us. We finished the jobs. We all just kept on struggling through.
And no regrets in doing that because you guys maintained the business that you wanted to, right?
Well, people call, people, we even considered bankruptcy, but bankruptcy at that time, it was breaking a promise to us. When you go bankrupt, you're saying, I'm not going to pay you what you promised to pay. But we didn't break any promises. We struggled through. We didn't go on vacation. We didn't buy new cars. We didn't have fun. We just struggled through.
And look where you are now.
And that's God's blessed us.
And I love the Foam Guys. Did it take you a long time to settle on that name, or was it just, let's get straight to it. We are the Foam Guys.
So we were originally Soil Stabilization Technologies, which is a mouthful.
Yeah.
And literally we were on a project outside of Orlando, a solar field, and Ulysses and I were up there, and a nickname in the field was, the Foam Guys are here. The Foam Guys are here. And one day it was just like, I heard it, and it just clicked. It's like, let me Google it. The Foam Guys website's available. Hey, guess what? We got a new name.
Amazing. And I love the shirts.
Yeah.
You guys rep your shirts. So you can find you at the Foam Guys on Instagram and thefoamguys.com, right?
Yes,
Right.
ma'am.
Yes.
Is there anywhere else they can find you?
Miramar.
Awesome. So thank you guys so much for being here. Is there anything else that you want to mention or anything else you want our viewers to listen to?
So, one of the advantages, like you were asking earlier, is there no project too big or too small? Ultimately, these repairs aren't cheap, but we have a whole litany of financing opportunities. It's really something, trying to ignore a problem only makes it worse. If you think you have a problem, no matter how big or small, just like you said, you didn't think your problem at your house was big enough for us. There is no such thing. So, we're part of the community. We're neighbors. We're friends, this and that. Please feel free to give us a call and talk to us, and we'll happily come out. And if we can't figure out your solution, we certainly have a lot of other means to recommend solutions. There's been times we've come out and we've determined that there hasn't been a problem or hasn't been an issue that we could deal with, and might just need some landscaping work or something simple. We're not going to upsell anybody, but you got to make that phone call. Got to give us a call, and we're happy to come out. You'll get one of the three of us typically, and we'll do what we can to help out.
I look forward to it. Well, thank you guys so much again for coming. It was a pleasure.
Thank you
for having us.
Of course.